Hi everyone, bonjour, my name is Sasha. Thanks for being here for 12 days of yoga. Today we are touching on some restorative postures. They're so delicious, that's why I've cozied myself up in a sweater and socks so that the body stays as warm as possible in these passive restorative postures. And especially if it's cold where you are, I suggest having blankets. Have as many folded blankets as possible. Please fold them nicely, like this one where it has a nice creased edge. As you can see, it's nice and steady. You can always refold them if it is not nice and smooth, because we want the body to rest in a steady and supported way. I also have a bolster. If you don't have one, you can use pillows, whatever you have. You can use a strap sometimes, blocks are great, but we're just going to touch on a few of them today. It's really important to let the nervous system replenish itself. You can do this in the morning, especially if you had a rough night's sleep. You can do this in the evening to wind down. You can do this in the middle of the day if you feel like you need a nap or you just need some blood to circulate through your body and rejuvenate you. You can do this if you're stressed. You can share this with your family and kids and do it together, and it feels so nice for the body, for the mind, for the heart. So let's start. Again, this is just a few simple postures, and you can modify to suit your needs. If you have a mat, that's great. Otherwise, you can fold a blanket long so that your whole body is supported on something relatively soft on the floor. So we're going to start with just the bolster, or again, you can use folded blankets or pillows in between the legs. So first, sit on the butt and roll down. We're just going to do actually let's start on the butt. So seated with the bolster in front of you. Just going to do a really easy forward bend. The feet can be about the width of the mat, and you can put the bolster on the shins. You can put the bolster lengthwise in front of you if you want the feet closer together. Depends on your flexibility. I'm going to sit on a blanket for this one, especially if your legs are tight. Sit on something. And I'm going to have also a chair in front of me, just in case I want to put my head on the chair instead of the bolster. So the feet can be wide or they can go through the chair if that's possible for you. And you're going to rest your head on something. And once you're in this posture, you can let the legs relax. If you find that one leg really rolls open more than the other, you can belt your legs together. Literally just tie the belt around the thighs and keep them to help keep them the width of the hips. If the chair is a lot for you, you can just use a bolster. You can use blocks, but ideally something soft. I'm going to widen my feet for this and just put the head on the bolster. The arms can be by the side if that feels nice, if you don't need the extra support, but the forearms give you a little bit of an extra lift if your back is tight. Otherwise, wherever you are, once the legs are settled relatively parallel to each other so the knees face the ceiling, you can let the legs start to relax, let the shoulders start to relax. Maybe over time, the tightness anywhere will start to subside, and you can even kind of move your head and the prop a little bit more forward so that the front of the body is getting just as much length as the back of the body. And you're just breathing here, releasing any muscles that are tight around the shoulder and the neck area. Resting just on the forehead. Ideally, letting the prop move the skin of the forehead down towards the nose. That's very calming for the nervous system. And you're just taking a few breaths. If this is really too much for you, like I said, you can use the chair and put your head on that, or you can even just widen the legs a little bit more with the butt right at the top of the thigh on the blanket and letting the head rest on the prop. Okay, so you'll do that for a few breaths, and then we'll come down to a twist. So you come out really slowly, not as quickly as I did, ideally, and lie down onto the back. If you need support under your head, you can have a nice folded blanket, like so, right underneath the head at the top of the shoulders. So the back of the neck is supported, and then the bolster is going to go in between the legs. So I lay down, I put the bolster between the legs so it's all the way, not just in the knees, it's all the way ideally towards the feet. So you can use a few pillows if you need. And as I bring my knees towards my chest so it's stable, I widen my arms to a T, I kind of tuck my shoulder blades under my chest, and as my knees are up towards my chest, I let them roll all the way to the left armpit. And if you need more space, the knees might kind of slide themselves down, but that's okay if the back needs more space. And you're just breathing here. Ideally, the right shoulder, the opposite shoulder to the direction you're turning, is on the floor, or the right shoulder blade rather. And you're just breathing here. Really let go any tension in the inner thighs. So if you find that you're squeezing them, you might have to you can see how when I let the tension in my inner thighs go, my legs kind of slide. And you're just breathing here. And then you'll do the other side. So you slowly come back to center. The knees go to the chest. And you roll all the way to the other side. Ideally, this opposite shoulder blade is on the floor, so if it pops up, you might need to rearrange a little bit, or you can put this hand on the rib cage if the shoulder comes up so that you're not pulling it. This will help to release any muscles that are pulling in the front of the shoulder. And you're breathing here, you're letting the ribs soften, so you're not trying to push anything upward. You can especially guide your breath into the back of the ribs. And you come up slowly. You can stay in these postures for up to like 5-10 minutes even. So you don't need to do it as quickly, I'm just touching on it. And then moving the bolster to the side and rolling slowly all the way to the right side and coming up. And we'll do Supta Baddha Konasana. This is great if you are pregnant. You might have to lift yourself up a little higher, more at an angle. And if you need more guidance on that, please send me a message. Otherwise, the bolster will be behind you, or nicely folded blankets in a nice vertical direction, the same length as the spine, or you can stack pillows equally this direction. And so this is a simple version without a ton of props, but I am going to put actually this blanket down for my head again, because that was really nice. So it's kind of towards the back part of the blanket. And I sit right in front of it. I kind of press my hands down lightly so that the lumbar spine, the natural curve of the lower back fits in there. Oh yeah, I'm already feeling it. And then the blanket is on the top part of the shoulders. If you're a very tall person, you might need to rearrange and stack some extra blankets behind you so that the back of the head is fully supported. So you don't want the neck to throw itself open, and you don't want to push the cervical spine down. You just want a nice natural curve. So I'm gonna lengthen my tailbone a little bit personally because I feel like I can, and readjust. So this bottom part of the bolster is just right in the lumbar spine. And then the feet come in towards the butt as much as you can. They come together and the knees open wide. If you have any issues with your hip or your groin and you feel a pulling or a pain or a pinch, you can place blocks kind of right underneath the outer thighs where my fists are so that they're fully supported. Otherwise, it's completely fine to let the knees go open here. The arms can be at the side. Oh, this feels so good. I'm gonna tuck my shoulder blades in slightly so it widens the collarbones. You can also take the arms overhead, grab opposite elbows, especially if the forearms can rest on the back of the bolster. It's so nice to lengthen the waist. And you just have the tips of the fingers kind of tugging the elbows back here. And you can stay here for up to 10 minutes, 20 minutes even, especially if you're really supported. There's lots of things you can do to support the legs as well, like belt them in a special way, and if you have questions about that, please let me know. But otherwise, when you're here, you can switch the cross of the elbows. Otherwise, the elbows are just on the floor. You're really allowing the front of the body to settle down and wide into the back of the body. This is really good to open up the muscles in the pelvis, The muscles there are all connected to the organs, the reproductive organs, so this is especially beneficial for women, for digestion, and just for the nervous system in general. So once you're done with this posture, you can take the hands to the thighs to help the legs come together and roll all the way over to the right side and press yourself up and really take your time with that. And the last one we'll do here is a supported Savasana with the calves on the chair. I'm going to put the bolster to the side and the blanket behind the back of my head again. Ideally, you would put something on the chair so it's not such a hard surface, so you can put like a cushion or a blanket there. And this is just a Savasana, or final resting pose. Again, with the blanket supporting the head. It's not a lot, it's just enough to keep my cervical spine nicely natural, in its natural curve. And I'm just going to use kind of my monkey legs to bring the chair closer because I want the knees ideally over the pelvis when I put my calves up on the chair. If you find that you're quite stressed, it might even be nice to put some weight on top of the shins. I kind of scooted the bolster up. You can use blankets. But you just want to let the calves compress down. We hold a lot of tension and stress there, so it's nice to have that compression moving downward. And again, I move my shoulder blades slightly under my chest more, and it is absolutely stupendous and delicious. And I hope that all of you can experience the benefit of this pose someday. And really just let your legs go. If you feel like they're splaying too far apart, you can belt them together, but let them go so you're not holding any muscles. You're letting the femur head, the top of the thigh, naturally plug itself back down into the pelvis. Your breath is soft. And again, everything is just kind of spreading itself down and wide. And you can spend anywhere from 30 seconds to ideally 10 or plus minutes here. And when you're ready, you come slowly out of it, bending the knees and rolling all the way to the right. If you have a bolster, you can even kind of hug the bolster. And then you're pressing yourself up slowly. And when you're done with the restorative practice, you might just take a moment seated upright to let the nervous system land back in the present moment, in the body, to let the blood flow circulate, and thank yourselves for taking that really precious time to take care of yourself in that way. So thanks for being here. If you have any questions, please let me know. I so encourage you to practice restorative postures, whether every day or at least a few times a week, and I will see you on the other side. Namaste.